The other thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into the few minutes of Halo that we played is my Polymega system showed up this week, finally, after I think over a year. That journalists had them, and then there was major shipping delays. So the Polymega, for those of you that don't know, it's a modular retro gaming system. The base unit is a disk drive, and it's all emulation based because they decided not to go with FPGA. Is that right? FPGA?
Yeah.
Or is that golf? Anyway, because it was cheaper, I think. So out of the box, it supports Sega CD, TurboGrafx CD, Saturn, PlayStation 1, and Neo Geo CD, out of all things.
Wow.
Huh.
And then you can buy modules that are based on, like there's an NES one. They just announced an N64 module, Genesis, and Super Nintendo, and TurboGrafx. Wow. So what the modules will do for you, two things. They'll let you use original controllers. They have the plugins for original controllers. Otherwise, you just have USB ports for controllers on the base unit.
Okay.
And they will let you plug in cartridges for those systems. So I got it with the TurboGrafx and the TurboGrafx one because I don't really have a way to play my TurboGrafx games anymore. I got rid of my Duo. I actually sold it to Greg Ford ages ago. And so I wanted something that I could play my Turbo games on the TV.
Yeah.
So the way this thing works is that it will play discs and cartridges directly off the media that you plug in, but it also lets you install them on the system as well.
Oh.
It's always connected. Like you need to plug in an Ethernet cable to use it. And the interface is really nice. So the interface is almost kind of like it reminds me of like, remember, what's it called? Oh God, I forget what it's called. It was a way to rip your movies and then have them saved. Everyone was doing it on the Xbox, and it had this beautiful sort of, it would have these really nice thumbnails and a description of the movie and blah, blah, blah. That's what this is built like. So, you can add things to your collection and it'll tell you if it requires a disc or the media, or you can just install it and it'll, and you can just play it directly off the system after that without needing to use the media anymore. You can use USB drives. You can install an SSD drive in the bottom of it if you want.
Okay.
I really like it. I'm really liking the whole interface is great.
Yeah.
It's got some nice display options, and it's worked with everything I've thrown at it, which is the nice thing. Like I tried things out like Night Trap for 32X, works just fine.
Oh yeah.
The Genesis module will also take 32X cartridges. They work fine. Virtual Racing works with the DSP chip, no problem. It also, if you install the games, it will actually allow you to apply patches. So I've installed Police Knots for the Saturn in there, and then it'll just, you can apply the English patch, so I can play the English version of that. Saturn games that require the RAM cartridges, like Vampire Saviors, the one I tried, works no problem as well. I mean, it's the only thing I've had trouble with so far is Pure Solar, which is an aftermarket Genesis game, which the latest system update says it should work with, but mine for some reason isn't working. But overall, yeah, I mean, and the emulation is great. The Saturn emulation, I noticed it was a little glitchy here and there, but still quite good. And, the PlayStation emulation is great. Of course, all the different cartridge emulation is great. And the nice thing is because it's very convenient, which is nice. The main controller is wireless. It basically looks like you can see it there, basically looks like a sort of an off-brand PlayStation 5 controller.
Okay.
What I really like about the way it is set up for install as well is that you can do screen settings for the games that you've got in your collection, and it'll save them per game. So as an example, like when I'm playing, when I was playing Night Trap for 32X, 32X video looks better than Sega CD video, but it still doesn't look very good.
Right.
But you also, anyone who's been around long enough realizes that CRTs were doing stuff like was doing video like that huge favors. For the fact that it wasn't super crisp and you had the scan lines, and you can sort of like, I actually set it so that I'm using the scan line settings on that game. So anytime I fire that game up, now it'll be set to play at that resolution with those scan lines.
Cool.
And like PlayStation games, I find too, having 3D PlayStation games be super crisp does not do them any favors. So I use like the RGB blur, and that actually, makes them play nicely, look good. Test it out using playing Gran Turismo using the analog sticks on the Polymega controller, and it was fantastic. I'm really happy with it.
Nice.
It is pricey, but especially where for me, I have a lot of these original systems hooked up downstairs in the den. But if I want to play them on this big screen for some reason, or I want to capture footage, being able to have most of my collection installed on this thing is going to be super convenient. I need to put an SSD in it to make sure that there's enough memory to take the collection. But the other nice thing is, because it's emulator, there's a chance that like 3DO will be supported someday. Maybe even more obscure stuff like Jaguar CD or CDI or anything like that, So, and that was one of the reasons why I grabbed it as well, even outside of really liking the interface and enjoying the time I'm spending with it, is that all of my older systems now that have disk drives, they're all failing.
Oh, of course.
Right. Yeah. So another way to have this stuff sort of accessible, it's a brand new drive. So it should last a while, I hope. Hopefully it's not super cheap. But yeah, overall, I recommend it. It's pricey, but I recommend it if convenience is your thing. Somebody's asking, Mr. Coffee, Mr. Radar is asking about Paprium, I think is what it's called. I don't believe that works yet. The Polymega people have actually tweeted, somebody was asking them on their Twitter account, and they said that they would need cooperation from Watermelon to get that working on the system. And I don't know that that's forthcoming, because Watermelon is kind of in really weird shape right now.
What is Paprium?
Paprium is a side-scrolling brawler that was released by, do you know Watermelon Studios? I think they're called Watermelon Games. They released Pure Solar. They do indie games for like the Genesis, Super Nintendo and stuff. And Paprium was kind of like their major release, their most recent release, but it's been fraught with problems. So not the game itself, but the development and the release of it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I'm really, really digging it. And I know when I posted a picture on Twitter that I had a lot of people saying, like, I really want to hear what you think of it. And so far, I like it a lot.
Nice.
I like it a lot.